Looks like we're streaming. Let's go. All right. So just a few minutes ago, I ended my last stream where I kind of walked through the process of creating user requirements driven by AI here. And now that we've created some user requirements for our state management for our app, let me back up a little bit. We're gonna build this sign up form here. All right. This is for a new app. This is not the correct style. We're actually going to use our style guide, which I also had AI generate. It took me about 10 minutes to do it, which is pretty cool. Let me show you where that is. That's in here. I've got my design system here. And then I'm going to open this reveal in Finder. And then we'll just open this up here. And I'll show you. So this, I always start with this, like a design system or style guide to help the AI understand what the look and feel of the app is going to be like. So you can see if we hover over, there's these cool little glass animations and stuff like that. So it gives us an idea of what the app is going to be like to use. So you can see that. All right. So I'm going to close that. All right, let's get back over here. All right. So we're going to just implement the state management part of this, which is going to be handled by Redux. And I have a Redux library called Autodux that we're going to use. So I'm going to just go ahead and install that real quick. npm install -- save Autodux. I've actually never tried doing this like this before because the AI, we already have like an Autodux program. We don't actually need the library because the AI has some rules that'll teach it how to build Dux objects properly. So anyway, we're gonna start working on the Dux object real quick. So we're going to first find those functional requirements. And this prototype, right? This mockup. I'm going to drag this. Actually, no, I'm going to skip the mockup because we're just doing the state management part, so we don't need to confuse it too much. So I'm going to do the tdd.mdc. I'm going to drag that over there, and then I'm going to drag the in our frameworks folder. There's an autodux.mdc. I'm going to drag that over here, right? And we're going to ask it to implement this. So the user authentication Dux requirements. We're going to drag that over there. And we're going to say, please use TDD to implement the reducer for our sign-in component. And we've got our requirements there. So we'll see how that works. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. User authentication Dux test.js. So that's not going to work. I'm going to give it a little feedback. That's not going to work because you need to import this test file in the index test file. And I'm going to rename that to, I'm going to rename this so that we're using consistent names. Instead of dash test, I'm going to do .test.js. And in our package.json, I need to update that to use .test.js. Now this should work. Sorry for the audio glitches. My computer obviously needs to be updated or something. It's having a hard time keeping up with the demands here. Index.test.js file. Okay. Now let's run it. Uh-oh. I got the import wrong, I think. Okay. Let's close that. I'm going to close a few of these files. Import Autodocs from Autodocs. Oh my, it's created the entire implementation here. Sure, we'll keep it, but I'm gonna delete all this stuff and tell it, whoa, buddy, don't implement before use the TDD process. Don't implement before writing tests. And focus on one requirement at a time. The other thing we have to do is, there we go, got the tests. Type in it. You're insane, dude. Yeah. I'm gonna also, user wants to sign up, start the sign up process. Initialize the user with auth-state as pending and is signed in as false. So we don't actually need this reducer state here. We don't need an action for this. So I'm just going to, given a user starts the sign up process, I think we just need to call the state here. Okay. We can get rid of all these other tests because it's skipping the process. And we don't want it to skip the process. A few reasons we want to not skip the process, but one of the most important is we want to make sure that everything is done correctly, and we need time to absorb that everything is done correctly. All right, one at a time. I deleted the extra requirements and fixed the initialization test. You don't need an init. we can just call the reducer with no arguments. And ID should not be null. And we should probably not expect that. So I'm just going to do reducer dot auth state, and this should be pending. Or let's look at the actual requirement. Should initialize the user with auth state as pending. Oh, here we go. But is that true? Auth state. Let's set it to anonymous until the user. Let's see. With auth state as pending, user submits valid email and display name, should set the email and display name, and should keep the auth state as pending. All right, cool. User submits valid email and display name, should set the email and display name, and keep the auth state as pending. And yeah, great. Display name, auth keys, pass keys. Oh, we're also missing here. Let's add. Our metadata is ID, name, description, created at, and updated at. I believe that's right. So now we can get rid of this ID, email, display name, auth state, auth errors, pass keys. There we go. All right. So let's not try to validate the entire object before we have that ready. All right, so let's go back over here. What is this? Okay. User auth state expected should be not pending on this. It should just be, what was it? Anonymous. There is no is signed in. Anonymous. There we go. Reread the files and run the tests again. All right, see what happens here. Where did my chat go? Docs. There's the chat. I see it. Hey, Alexander. Yeah, I know the sound is awful. Sorry. Crazy. All right. So let's roll. npm run test. Oh, I see what's happening with the chat. I need to dock it, I think. Yeah. I'll dock it over there. Come on. It doesn't want to dock. So then my chat's going to keep disappearing and I'm not going to see people. Let's try this again. Hold on. Dock. Dock, stream chat. Oh my goodness. Everything's broken. All right, there we go. There we go. That's better. All right. Great. I'll see you later, Alex. Alexander Ortiz. All right. Let's roll. Run. Uh-oh. Issue with the test runner. No. Stop. Stop and wait. Okay. Let's just see. npm run test. It was working. It's probably... What? I thought I fixed this. So if you go to package.json in here, package.json, there we go. And let's look at, yeah, that's the correct version of Rightway. Okay, now let's look at the test. Import describe from Rightway, import create authentication ducks. Okay, import autoducks from autoducks. All right. So that should be okay. Why did it fail? Let's look. This did work before. Let's do a little bit of ablation study here. So I'm just going to go to my index test and I'm going to comment this out, comment out that line. Run the tests again. Test pass. Okay, so it's our import here is what's breaking it. So, oops. So maybe if we go to our index test file, or not the index test file, that one's fine. User authentication ducks.test. Okay. And then npm run test again. Okay, that broke. So let's look at that test. Okay, import what? Okay, import Rightway from Rightway. That's fine. Let's do this. Okay. So, great. Import create user auth ducks. Ah, I see. I see what happened here. So in our user auth ducks, we should probably just import the reducer here. So import, oh, I see. Let's do, let's see. I forgot how we do these exports. Let me look at the autoducks docs real quick. Autoducks GitHub. It's been a minute. It's been a minute since I started a greenfield project like this. All right, export const. Ah, that's how we do it. So export const. Reducer. Reducer. There we go. Slice. User. I'll just call this user. Slice user. And then our initial state, we're going to watch the test fail first. So we're just going to leave this as an empty object, I think. Right? Yeah. Okay. Let's see if we can run that again. Whoop. Reference create user auth ducks is not. Oh, we're still trying to import it wrong. Where's create user auth ducks? Ah, that's. There we go. Let's try this again. Initial, unexpected identifier, initial. That shouldn't be the case. Oh, because there's no comma. That would do it. All right, let's try this again. Uh-oh. Okay, the import is messed up. Why is the import messed up? That's a good question. Okay. Run the tests. Look at the files and just think about diagnosis here. The import is not working. Your task is to understand why without making a bunch of changes. So let's do RTC here, get it to think about this. Okay, import issue stems from the fundamental mismatch between the test expectations and the ducks implementation. The test file imports reducer directly and expects to call reducer to get the initial state, but the ducks file exports reducer from an autoducks call where reducer is a redux reducer function that expects state action parameters. Import structure. Test imports reducer, but ducks exports the default of the autoducks call, but the default of the autoducks call is an object with reducer property on it, my friend. Function signature, test calls reducer, but redux reducers need state action. One, autoducks returns an object with reducer on it. Two, no, you can call reducers with no arguments. And in fact, that is the canonical way to initialize their state. Three, yes, because we are using TDD and we are not working on implementation yet. Ducks file has initial fantastic specs. No. Run the test again. Is that how you would expect it to fail? Silly thing. All right, let's run it. No, this is not how I'd expect it to fail. This is a module loading error. Yeah, no kidding, dude. There's an issue with ESM. It's trying to load some Semver-related module and failing. This suggests that there's a deeper issue with the module system and the test runner setup, not with our test logic. Problem is we're trying to import something that isn't there, right? Let's do this. Reducer equals let's just test this. To test this theory, I changed the export. Should this work? Let's find out. And while we're at it, I'm going to npm run test. No, it does not. It should work. Ah. Let's do this. Import reducer. No, it's not a named object. It's not a named export. So we need to go in here and do what is this extra wrapping nonsense? Oops, that was the right one. This is the wrong one. Let's get rid of that. Cleaning up silly AI messes is my favorite part of AI-driven development. All right. There we go. Okay. Let's call it ducks. Import ducks. Let's try this. Yeah, I had that right. Come on. Let's try that. I'll just manually run the test as well. Oh. The imports are really... Oh, I know what's going on. I have a feeling that Autodux is an old module. Yeah, I think Autodux might use ESM. So I have to go fix Autodux if we're going to use Autodux. So I think we're going to, yeah. I understand the problem. Autodux is an old module that uses an ESM shim, which is not compatible with the latest version of Node, which has ESM built in. Yep. So we're gonna fix this by updating Autodux. But I'm not gonna do that on this chat or on this stream. So I think I'm just gonna tell it to not use Autodux. Yeah, instead of doing that. So let's just for the sake of this stream, let's not use Autodux. Let's just get rid of this, and we'll just do import reducer. And then in our user authentication ducks, oh wait, yeah, because we tried to import Autodux there. Okay, now let's see if that cleans it up. Requested module does not provide an export named reducer. Ah, okay. So instead of doing the default export, what we're going to do is we're going to do export const reducer equals, and we're just going to make this a no op for now, like this. In the meantime, I will fix Autodux so that you guys can use it, because it's actually really cool library to use once you get it rolling. Yeah, that's more like how we expected it to fail. That's good. Dux is not defined. Let's go fix this. We don't need that anymore. Yeah, just like that. So let's see. Now it should be failing in the way that we expect. Yep. Now it's failing like we expect it to fail. All right. So now I'm going to close that just because we had a long context window with the agent with a whole bunch of junk in it. So you want to kind of reset its memory so that that junk doesn't pollute. So what I'm going to do now is show you the setup. So we're going to drag the tdd.mvc and MDC file here. This is in our cursor rules, and cursor agents normally can find these on their own, but I'm just going to tag it just to make sure that it works. And then over here we have our user auth requirements.md. So I'm going to say here, I'm going to drag a couple more things in here first. This and this. Okay. Please use TDD to implement the user auth reducer, one requirement at a time. Don't try to use the Autodux module to implement the reducer, the Autodesk JavaScript module. Instead, use autodesk.mdc. The guide in autodesk.mdc to implement the reducer manually. All right, let's see what happens. So now we've got the TDD engineer script running, and hopefully it's about to turn our software engineering on autopilot here. We'll see how that works. Let's look at the test. We can close this index test file here. So it's going to run. Test is failing as expected. Initialize to auth state as pending. Oops. No. I think I messed up the requirement. Should initialize user with auth state as anonymous. Oops. Reread the requirements file, please. Should start as anonymous. All right. That's better. All right. Here we go. Let's run it. Wow. Coolest thing just happened. Girlfriend just brought me food. I have the best girlfriend in the world. All right. Output shows it's still expected pending. But the actual is anonymous. No, the expectation is correct. The test file looks correct. The error message in the terminal output seems to be showing old cache version. No. Let's run this. Here, I want to see the output more clearly. Okay. Expected, pending. Oh, it's not saved. File wasn't saved. Fixed. Okay. Now, before it starts going crazy, yeah, okay. It's going to wait for me to approve that. So I'm going to keep this. Submit user data, email, test, display name, test user. So given a user submits valid email and display name, set the user email and display name to keep the auth state as pending. I'm sorry about the audio. I'll try to get this fixed. Okay. Now, if we go to our ducks over here. Yeah, this is what I'd like to see. Okay, so it implemented a bunch of initial state. It's getting these wrong, but that's okay. fact, I'm just going to delete everything that isn't Ausstate anonymous. Okay. And in fact, maybe I should look at the TDD script to see if there's a problem with this. So, okay. Process. For each unit of code, create a test suite with one requirement at a time. If the user is not specified the test framework, ask them if the calling API is unspecified. Propose a calling API that serves the functional requirements and creates an optimal developer experience. Write a test, run the test runner, watch the test fail. How about make sure implement only the code needed to make the test pass. All right. Nice. Okay. Here we go. Hold on. I'm gonna end this here and see you guys later. I got my dinner. I'm gonna go eat dinner.